Hello friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works workshop. We have what should be, and I shouldn't say this because it always goes the other way when you say this, a simple little setup this morning, and this should be a quick and dirty one. There's several little problems with this. This is a homemade guitar by, you can see the name there, Cohen is the name. And it's a nice guitar. It looks like it's pretty well made for a homemade guitar. But you know, what I've always said is building them and setting them up is two different skill sets. I mean, it's completely two different things. I build them and I set them up. And I feel like I have both those skill sets at this point because I've been doing it for so long. I mean, you can build one, but then again, it may not play well, you know, because of the setup. So the setup is a different thing entirely. And a lot of people, they'll hurry through the build and, you know, get the strings on them and they think they're done, you know. But really, you know, when I build like a brand new mandolin, for instance, the very first thing I do before I string it up is I do a fret job. I level all the frets out, I recrown them, because I don't care how carefully you drive them in there and how perfectly they're pressed in from the factory or whatever, they'll never be perfectly level. There's always some variances. It doesn't take much, just a thousandth or two. And a thousandth you can't hardly measure. You can't really measure a thousandth between your fingers. I mean, it's that small. Anyway, it just takes a thousandth or two to be off. So that's what we're going to do today is work on the setup. The complaint is that the thing is buzzing some. I've noticed two or three other little things about it. When I look down the fretboard, there's a pretty good hump at about the 14th, 15th fret, like is pretty common, or about where it joins the body. But actually, this one's in front of where it joins the body a little bit. There's a pretty good hump there. I don't think it's bad enough that we can't just file through it. We're going to file through it with the frets. So those frets in that area are going to be, you know, a little lower and flatter than the other frets, but they'll be level with all the frets. And the other thing I've noticed, and I don't know if the camera angle will pick this up very good, but the saddle is, and I'm exaggerating, the saddle should be straight up and down like this. The saddle is leaning quite a bit like this, and the reason for that, probably two reasons. Number one, I think they have a pickup under it, and that raises it up some, so it tends to want to pull forward more. But the main reason is that it doesn't fit the slot. This saddle is way narrower than the slot. I can see air on both sides of the saddle, so that's a problem. So what I'll probably do is just make a new bone deer antler saddle, and we'll put that in there, and we'll make it fit just right. And back here, you can see the endpin. It's got a lot of play in it. It's not tight, so we'll fix that too. So those are the things I've just noticed on the, you know, just by a quick cursory look at it. Who knows what else we'll find as we get into it. Okay, I've already loosened the strings. I wasn't going to film this, and then after I loosened the strings, I thought, well, I'll go ahead and just film it, because this will hopefully be a quickie. Like I said, I should never say that. I should never say that, because it always works out opposite when you say that. Okay, and I am, just so you can see what I'm doing, I always take the pins out and I put them in this little block or some other little block that I have. I have several of them, and that way I get them in the same order back into the guitar. Okay, and now probably you can see it better. You can see how this bridge saddle is just flopping in there. Maybe you can see it if I quit moving the guitar. But anyway, it's real loose. So whenever you have a setup like that, it's never going to sound its best. It's never going to play its best. It looks to me like they have a shim in there. I don't think that's a pickup. It looks like a shim, based on what I can see. Yeah, it looks like a shim. I don't know if there's a pickup in there too. It doesn't look like there is a pickup. So I'm not sure what's going on with this. Let's see if we can get that little... Yeah, it's definitely a shim. Just a piece of plastic shim. So we won't need that anymore either. And there is a hole for a pickup to come through, but there's nothing up in there. So, and the wires, there are wires inside here. So maybe they've gone with a different kind of pickup. I haven't looked inside the guitar yet. So maybe there's an underbridge pickup or something like that now, which I like much better. I don't like pickups that go under the saddle. It appears to me that they may have had trouble with the bridge coming loose, because I see a lot of extra glue squeeze out here, and it looks like new squeeze out from about this point in the bridge around here to about this point in the bridge. So it looks to me like they've, and I can see glue up on the bridge here too. So it looks like they've fixed that already. It doesn't appear to be loose now, because I did test it with some paper. I tried to get paper under there and it wouldn't go. Okay, well, we'll worry about this in here in a minute. Right now we're going to take care of this fretboard and level it out, because it definitely needs a leveling. First thing I turn to is my trusty leveling file. You can hear it rattling right over here, so that either means there's one crazy high fret, or one of the frets might even be loose. I think it's just extra high. I'm going to just take the ends of these frets down. You can feel them, they're kind of rough on the ends. Okay, there's better on this side. I can still feel them pretty good on this side, so we'll take it off on this side too. You have to be careful right here at the guitar. I'm putting my thumb down here to kind of be the bottom out area so that it won't slide down and scratch the guitar. And if you keep the file angled at the proper angle here, then you don't scratch the sides of the fretboard either. Feels quite a bit better. I still feel something right here on this side right here. It's quite a bit better. Okay, I'm going to look down the fretboard. You won't be able to see this in the camera, but I'm going to hold it up to my eye and look straight down the fretboard, see if I still see that hump that I was seeing in there before. I like to look at something white. I have a white cabinet there, and I can look right down at it. Yeah, there's still an overall bulge. It's not one fret high. There's just a whole bulge right in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do some more leveling in this general area. And you notice I'm rotating this thing around because I'm following the slight curve of the fretboard. I know others use files and sanders and things that are actually shaped like the fretboard. I've never found a real need for that. I find it just as easy to follow it. Just you know, you just can't stay in one place. You know, you have to keep it moving. And after you file a lot in one spot like that, then you kind of have to blend it, taper it into the rest of the fretboard. And that's what I'm doing now, is I'm expanding it out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to wipe that dust off, because the dust actually glares on there, and it's a little harder to tell where the high spots are by looking down it. Okay, looking down it again. Well, I can tell you it looks better, for sure. It looks better. It still appears to be a little high right in this general area, so I'm going to go ahead and take a little more off. I have to admit, my close-up vision is not what it was 10 years ago, but fortunately I was blessed with being nearsighted, so I can see up close better than I can see far away. So I can look down the fretboard rather than using a straight edge on here like so many people do. I just look down it, and I can literally see where the high spots are, and even if there's a low spot will look dark. You can just see it. It's easy to tell. You know, it's not perfect, but I think it'll get us there. Actually, it's gliding pretty smooth now, which usually is a good indicator that you're pretty level. I don't feel it dragging. It was dragging like crazy in here. And now that it's kind of sliding, I feel a little tiny drag right in here. So I'm just going to level it all out now. And I think we're good. Okay, I think we're good there. I think we just about got it. So let's clean this all off. We'll go through now and re-crown those frets to round off those corners of the frets. Again, I don't mind having a little small flat spot right on top of the fret. That doesn't bother me in the least. As long as it's not a real big, wide flat spot. I like to have that little bit of a flat spot there, which means that we're perfectly level. You know, once you get rid of that, well, you don't know if you're thousandths high or thousandths low. Yeah, it's going to work. These frets down here didn't get much filing, so don't need too much in this area here as far as re-crowning goes. Starting to get into the area here now. It's going to take a little bit more filing. Yeah, these 3 or 4 frets right in here are the really bad ones. Okay, now we have to be careful because we're over the top of the guitar on these, so we have to be a little more gentle. This one's about the last one that was filed a lot, so it should be easier after this one. Yeah, that looks good. I'm good with that. Now what I'm going to do is just take some light sandpaper, go over across it like this to just smooth it out. I don't polish them like some folks do to make them look like a mirror. I see absolutely no benefit in that other than just the pure looks. So I'm just going to just, you know, sand them lightly, which kind of makes them all look uniform and you don't see any of the file marks and stuff like that. That makes them look nice. So that's what I'm going to do. Got a piece of 600 here, and we'll just buff them out with that. The 600 makes them look a little shinier. Sometimes I use 400 or something, and it's fine. It's just the 600s are probably a little shinier. The negative of doing this is that it scuffs the fretboard, which I never think of that as a negative because I'm going to level that fretboard anyway and oil it, and so this just is a, if anything, it's kind of an aid. I can tell where I've leveled the fretboard when I start scraping the fretboard. So to me, I don't mind the fact that it scuffs the fretboard. Okay, that looks real good, real uniform and shiny, so that looks good to me. Now we will take a single edge razor blade, go down through there, and get rid of all the scuffing, and it'll also level out the fretboard, make it look nice and pretty, just like it's brand new, and then we'll oil it, which will even make it look better. I'm probably making this look a lot easier to do than it is. It's actually not too bad, but it's very hard on your fingers. If you've got really strong fingers, you'll be okay. But it's hard to hold that blade stiff enough so that you don't get chatter and you know, vibration, which will make marks in your wood. Okay, I believe that looks good. Now the last step I do is I go along every fret on both sides of every fret, and I just scrape right up against the fret, just with the corner of the blade. You got to be careful because you can actually make a mark on your fretboard doing this. Make sure it's really seated good against the fret before you start dragging it across. And that just drags away any shavings and things up against the frets on both sides. little harder to do it right up against the nut, and it looks to me like they've got some extra glue up against the nut there that we need to get out of there anyway. All little detaily things that make a difference in your setup. I'm so right-handed that I have to turn it around to do the other side. Other people probably could just do it from the same side, but not me. Which is also another reason why I don't really like a guitar sled or some vise to hold the guitar. I much prefer to be able to move it around on my bench. I just feel more comfortable working this way rather than having everything perfectly stationary. I can see advantages under certain circumstances to have it perfectly stationary, and whenever that's the case, well then I just find a way to clamp it down. But most of the time I don't worry about that. Okay, I see a little bit of fuzzy stuff right along the edges here for some reason. I'll make sure we get rid of that. Feels pretty good, looks real good. So now we'll oil that up real good. I just used the old classic linseed oil. It's my favorite. I know there's all kinds of other products out there, but I really like linseed oil. I think it's a good product. They've been using it for hundreds of years, so I think it's a good product for this particular purpose. Now, that people that don't like it, generally what happens is they leave it on there and it gets gummy. But you don't leave it on there. You put it on here, let it soak in a little while, and then you wipe it off at least twice. If you don't wipe it off twice, you're going to have a gummy residue left. And you don't want that. We'll go ahead and wipe it on the bridge too. And it won't hurt your finish. If you get it on your finish, it's not going to be a problem at all. You just wipe it off. Okay, wiping it off the first time right now, and I'll wait about 5 minutes or so and wipe it off again. You want to wipe it off really good. Otherwise, like I said, you won't be happy with it. You can come back in 2 or 3 minutes and you'll see that it's seeped back out of the pores of the wood. And that's why you need to wipe it off again later. After that, you're fine. You shouldn't have any more trouble. Okay, while that's all setting up and drying there, okay, we're working on the saddle. The slot measures at 97, 98 thousandths, right in there. 100 thousandths is what I'm getting right there. So we're going to make the new saddle 100 thousandths. The old saddle measures about 87, 86 thousandths, somewhere in there. The old saddle, you can see, that's more than 10,000, well, about 10 thousandths play or so, and you can see that, and it's really obvious. And you can also see the play in it in the endways. It slides back and forth. So when we get the new saddle made, it will look like it grew in there. There won't be any daylight around it anywhere, and it'll slide right down in there perfectly. So that's what we're going to do, make this new saddle. I think you can see that we hit our mark to the thousandth of an inch. It's exactly 100 thousandths of an inch. So it's very easy to do that with that sander that I have that I made, and you've seen me use that before. If you haven't seen me use that before, there's plenty of other videos where I do setups, and you'll see that sander in use. And you'll see me making these saddles. I'm not filming this particular one just because I've filmed it so many times. So I'm going to now just draw around it and use this old one as a rough profile, but I'm going to leave it plenty proud, and lengthwise the same way. But this gives me a rough idea of the shape. So basically we'll just cut out that rough shape there. I've got the saddle in there, it fits perfectly, so we're ready to string it up, except for the fact that I want to work on this. This is loose. However, it's only loose in the guitar. The nut itself is not loose. I'm holding it inside there and I'm trying to turn this by hand and I cannot turn it. I've tried to put the pliers on it, then I can't hold it inside the guitar. So it's really tight. How they got it that tight, I don't know. Nope, it won't come. So I think this is where the project just got complicated. I told you I should never say it's a simple project. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to make myself some kind of a hook that'll go inside here. There's a hole inside this thing. I need some way to hold it more solid, and right now I don't have any way to hold it solid. I can't reach inside there and get it very well. Just my arm and hands are just too big to get back in there. Yeah. Just doesn't want to give, so we'll figure out a way to make it give. Well, I have to say, I rarely ever, and I mean like rarely ever, give up on anything. I'm going to give up on this. I think they've glued it to the threads. I can see some residue around the threads. I think it's been super glued to it. And, you know, the only way I can think of to get it loose, short of what I've been trying, and trust me folks, you would not believe the amount of torque I've put on this and cannot get it to come loose. I would say that they glued it or used, you know, some like Loctite or something on it, because it will not come loose. It looks like super glue if I was guessing, but I don't really know. Just on the inside there I can see some kind of residue around the back side of the nut, and I've held inside there with pliers the best I could and take pliers out here and tried to turn it. No dice. It is not moving. So at that point you gotta cut your losses, and that wasn't my charge and I'm spending too much time on it. I was just gonna fix it as a courtesy, but the courtesy just went out the window at that point. So we're going to string it up and see what happens. I know the action's going to be really high because I haven't got this saddle cut down where it should be yet. Okay, we will tune it up and see what the action's like. I know it's going to be high, like I said, but that's just part of the process. Okay, now we'll start checking where we're at. Got my 90 thousandths gauge. Gee whiz, it's almost exactly on the E. Wow, let's try the 80. See, I like the 80 on this side. Yeah, just a hair high. So we're going to just take it a hair down on that side. Pretty good. The 90 I usually use on this side. It's just about exactly on. Wow. Man. Well, they had a shim under it. I made it just a little bit bigger than what they had, so maybe it looks like I got really lucky. Probably really wouldn't even have to take it off of there. It's pretty darn close. The action up here at the nut is pretty good. I got 18 thousandths there. Pretty darn close. Gee whiz. Maybe it did turn out to be a simple project. It's about as close as it needs to be. Check the intonation just out of grins to see where that's at. Get it exactly right here. Pretty darn close. It bounces about 5 thousandths, or 5 cents rather, which is not bad. About 5 thousandths. Close. A little bit more seems like right there for some reason. Almost 10 thousandths there. All right, that's really pretty good, really. I don't see much point in doing anything else because right here on this, on the high E, it is so close. I mean, the 80 thousandths. I mean, it's probably 85 thousandths at the most, and the 5 thousandths, we're talking a hair, you know, a human hair. So that's pretty darn good, and save the customer a little money by not spending any more time on it, and I think he ought to be real happy. Hope you enjoyed that real quick setup there. That's pretty much in real time about how long it takes me to do the fret job and the make a saddle and everything.